Welcome back to my channel, friends. My name is Ten, and today I'm going to show you how to make seed spawn for mushroom cultivation. The first ingredient that we need is one of the most important, the rye berries. I like this company, Great River, because they sell a nice big 25-pound bag for about $40 to $50, and I've had great results using it every single time. The next ingredient that you definitely need is gypsum. Mushrooms love gypsum. It's got the calcium that they need, it's got the sulfur that they need, it's got everything a growing mushroom needs. Next, you'll need a large pot or a large bowl of some kind so that you have something to soak your berries in and then later to cook them in. Next, you need some sort of container to put the rye berries in to sterilize them. I prefer using glass jars, but mushroom bags are also very popular. For the jars, you'll need some aluminum foil, and I very highly recommend the heavy duty variety over the regular variety because you'll definitely need the extra strength from the foil. In order to have safe air transfer for the mushrooms, you'll also need some sort of micropore tape. I use this plastic kind, but the paper kind works just as well. It has little micro holes in there so that oxygen could get in, but it keeps all kinds of contaminants out. If you do decide to go the mushroom bag route, you're definitely going to need some sort of food sealer or bag sealer, and you'll probably need these little stickies, which are self-healing ports. Another item that you're going to need 100% is a good pressure cooker. I have this old Faberware 6-liter pressure cooker that I've had for maybe 5-6 years, and it's still kicking strong. So I highly recommend getting a decent sized pressure cooker, especially if you're going to be cooking multiple jars or multiple bags. All right, now that we have all the ingredients gathered together, let's get started. The first step that you want to do is you want to rinse the rye berries of any dust, dirt, contaminants, shell pieces, any just normal stuff that may end up inside of the rye berries during the milling process. It's time to fill your container with filtered water and add a big giant heaping tablespoon of gypsum. Mix it up so you could distribute the gypsum evenly throughout the rye berries, and then cover it with a lid and leave at room temperature for about 12 to 24 hours depending on the temperature. After about 12 to 24 hours, your rye berries should look like this. One end of it should look a lot lighter in color compared to the other end. That's usually the sprouting end and where the plant will actually burst through the seed. So it's very visible once the rye berries are soaked sufficiently, and you'll very clearly see that one edge has like this light colored tip on there. Some of the berries, you could even notice, started sprouting already, so it's definitely ready to go. Next, what you want to do is take them and put them into a big pot. Make sure to even off the top and add enough water to cover all the rye berries. What you're going to want to do is bring it up to a slow simmer on medium to medium low heat, because super important, you don't want to boil the berries. You just want the heat to soften up the rye berry shells so that they can absorb even more water. And then after 10 to 15 minutes of simmering, you want to turn your heat all the way up to high and get it to just barely start boiling. Once it just barely starts boiling, turn off the heat and it's time to drain the berries. I just use a regular noodle strainer inside of the soaking bowl so that I'm not pouring boiling water down my pipes because they're PVC. We don't want any cracks. And what you're going to want to do is once the water drips off of them, you're going to want to put them on a towel, a tray, any kind of flat surface so that you could see all the steam coming off of them. The reason why we boil the water a couple of minutes before we finish is just to get the seeds hot enough so that when you do put them on a tray or a table, they're able to easily evaporate the water without you having to pat them dry or do any other kind of extra work, because you don't want to put them into the jar if they're still hot and steamy. It's just going to create an environment that's more moist than the mushrooms like, and possible contamination. It's jar filling time. Now that your jars are all filled up, you want to take the aluminum foil and cut it into little squares. The first square is going to be used to cover the actual jar. You're going to want to use the metal ring of the jar to mold the aluminum, and it's going to create just a tighter seal on the jar, but not airtight because that would rip the foil. After that, you take some micropore tape and you make a little cross or an X on the top of the jar. This is simply just to help with inoculation, so when you stick the needle into the jar, the metal foil doesn't rip in any unpredictable ways. You use the aluminum foil to cover the top of the jar. This way you have a double layer. Now that we have all our jars ready, sealed, and covered with foil, it's time to put them into the pressure cooker. First thing you want to do with the pressure cooker is you want to put down some sort of cloth, or I guess maybe even a paper towel could work, just so that the glass isn't in direct contact with the bottom and the metal. Even though this is a large pressure cooker, I could still only fit 3 jars at a time, so we're only gonna do 3 at a time. Now, a little important thing that some people overlook and is important, especially when you're using aluminum foil to cover your jars, there's the little spot inside your pressure cooker that vents all the steam. And as you can see, the jars reach up above the rim and reach almost the very top of the lid. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that this little vent is gonna be right in between your 2 jars, because if you try closing it on top of your jar, you're just gonna puncture a hole in it, and then water's gonna get in there. It's just gonna be a big mess. After you have your jars inside the pressure cooker, it's time to fill it up with some water about halfway up the jar. Close the pressure cooker lid, make sure it's locked, and make sure that the vent is in the closed position. Once it reaches pressure, the pressure cooker will turn on and the timer will start. After an hour and 45 minutes of cooking in the pressure cooker and giving it about an hour and a half to depressurize naturally and cool off, I take the other 3 remaining jars and pop them right into the pressure cooker, same exact way, an hour and 45 minutes, and let it go to work. And there you have it, friends. Seed spawn jars ready for inoculation. Well, that's all for this video, friends. Join me in the next one where I show you how to inoculate your jars using spore syringes or liquid culture. And I'm going to show you both in bags and jars. So until then, friends, have a great one and happy growing.